Hey everybody, this is Dano. Today I'm telling you about something that happened to my wife and I after moving out of the States to New Zealand. Now, we had I had a contract that was offered to me in New Zealand for a company that I've always wanted to work for, and we ended up moving there for like half a year, a little bit over half a year. So we had to move over. And now, at the time of moving from the States to there, we had two dogs. Well, and this is significant to the story, so I'm not just babbling. I had two dogs, so I had to find a place for them to get care. So my brother actually was living in Oregon at the time, and he agreed to watch over the dogs. So we allowed him, we allowed the dogs to go live with him in the interim time that we were in New Zealand. We couldn't bring them along because there was like a 3 month waiting period in quarantine and another 3 months out, which would have been the length of the contract if it hadn't extended. And then, so that didn't make any sense. So we needed some care in here in the States. So again, significant to the story, which you'll find later on, we had these two dogs, and they were homed with my brother in the time they were out. So now our dog, one of them, Jet, he's a very particular dog, and during the course of the night, he would sometimes groan and complain. "Rawr, rawr." And so in the middle of the night, when he would do that, I would just like calm him down. You know, when he was very young, I actually had to put him to sleep, like put him to bed, not take him up, but put him to bed. So I had to put him in his crate and like tuck him in. So he would groan sometimes and like, okay, it's all right. And I calm down and let him go to sleep. So anyway, so back to New Zealand. So we go to New Zealand, and we were looking for a place to live, and we ended up settling in a place called Queens Wharf. Now, Queens Wharf is located in Wellington, New Zealand, which is where this company is, and it is on the waterfront. It was a way. It was an opportunity for us to live as wealthy as possible without actually having that much money. So we decided to really splurge, and we lived at the Queens Wharf, which is a really nice place on the docks of Wellington. Now, this place, Queens Wharf, it was a very old. It used to be historically, like I think it was a trader place in New Zealand on the docks that was converted into apartments, and like there's an office downstairs, and I'm showing pictures of it right now. And so it's actually a really nice place. If you are a Kiwi, a New Zealand person, you would say it's quite fresh. It's very nice, and it was very nice, and it was a way for us to kind of live in in a way that we wouldn't be able to otherwise. So the thing about this building is it's very different from other buildings. First off, is I think it was built in 1800s and like was used as a trader place until 19 something. So it's older. It has like and because of that, it has like old features, and it's been around a long time. So we had moved into this apartment. Now it's really like an owned apartment, like you would in New York. Somebody owns it and they just rent it out because they're out for the season. So it had furniture in it and pots and pans and things. It was very much like you would get at an extended stay, except for someone like had lived there at one time, and it was an old place from the 1800s. So that's the two parts that make it unusual. So I would go in the morning, in the daytime, and go work, sometimes into late night, and then come home, and then we would hang out and do stuff. So uh, now I don't know if you've ever lived in another country, but if you live in a country and you go somewhere else, it's almost like being in an alternate universe. Like they have all the same things that you would have, like a kitchen and a bathroom and pots and pans and things, but like all the products are just slightly different, and the way they look is slightly different, and the light that comes in through the windows is like at a different angle. There's actually, because we were from the States and this is New Zealand, it was actually even a different set of stars when you go out at night and you look up at the sky. Those are all these stars that you're not used to seeing because you're pointing out at a different region of the world. So you inherently feel like you're in a different place. Literally, it's like I said, it's as similar as you could to living in an alternate universe where they have all these things that you have in your universe. They just look different. Like the packages look different and everything. Like where they keep their eggs. This is just like a side note. Now I'm babbling. When they you go to the market to buy eggs, they don't keep them in the refrigerator like they do in the States. They're in the middle. You know how in the States, like produce, all the fresh things are on the outer aisle. So you walk, you would go do vegetables and then dairy and stuff like that. That's not the way it is in other countries. So in New Zealand in particular, the eggs are actually on a shelf. Just that it's not refrigerated. They're just sitting there next to packages of bacon. which to them is logical because they're breakfast food and together, which blew us away because it's like, wow, don't these go bad? And they're like, no, they don't go bad. Like, if you don't refrigerate eggs and you just leave them out, they stay good for like a very long time. It's once you refrigerate them that they go bad. So like things like this, you can feel that you're in a different place. So walking into the Queens Wharf, on top of it being old, you already feel like you're somewhere else. So your perception of the world is already drastically different, and you're sitting in reality already. You're just sitting in a different reality because this place has, again, all the things that you have in the U.S., but they just look slightly different. I imagine that's the same if you're from another country. If you're from Africa, we have all the things that you have in Africa, but when you get here, they look slightly different and weird to you because you haven't been used to seeing it. And that was the feeling that we had going in this apartment. So, again, we were in the apartment. We were living in Queens Wharf. And the first few nights we sit there, because it's so weird, we walked into the master bedroom. Now, the master bedroom was set up so that there was a bed in the center. There was a skylight above the bed. It's quite nice. Quite flash, as they would say. And then along one wall, there was an entire bank of dressers, which had a mirror on it. And that mirror actually was right over the bed. So if I'm sleeping on the right side of the bed, as I open up and look, there's a mirror like right there, kind of tilted at us, which I did not like. So I ended up moving, both of us actually, both Alana and I did not like that. So I ended up moving furniture around so that mirror wouldn't hover over us. I moved it over and actually flipped it so we couldn't use it because that was like just too strange to us. So again, master bedroom, skylight above the bed in the middle of the room. Along the wall, along the bed, there was a whole thing of dressers, which I rearranged. And then at the foot of the bed, an entire wall of fold-out closets, the whole wall. Now, the significance about that is one of the doors was actually kind of loose. So if you touched it a little bit, it would move, which I kind of held shut with, like, I put my pants in front of there at the end of the day, and so I would keep it closed. And there was nothing inside the closet, really. You can tell that they had a bunch of stuff in there at one time, but they had like sheets and stuff that were stored in there. Not a whole lot else. And leftover clothes that they decided they didn't need when they left this place and rented it out to us. So now this room is significant because all the activity happened in this room, which I thought was very strange. So the first few nights we sat there, again, we were uncomfortable because already you feel like you're in a different place, different world. So we're trying to sleep. And the first few nights, one of the nights I opened my eyes and I could see like it. Now, at this point, I hadn't had my eye correction, so I had very bad vision. Like legally, without my glasses, I'm legally blind. But I can see shapes and stuff. So I open my eyes and I look up and I see in the skylight what looks like somebody looking down at us. And as I open my eyes, they like scoot away. Which I'm like, oh, it's like a peeping Tom or something. The weird thing is now about that is when someone's above you and they rush away like that, you can hear them. You can hear their footsteps and stuff. I didn't hear any footsteps. I just saw a shadowy whatever block the light that was coming in and like move out of the way. Which immediately I was like, oh, I gotta go up there and check it out the next morning to see what it's like. And so that kind of bothered me. I was like, oh, people watch us sleeping, that's weird. And we're in another country already. You already feel weird about it. So I went up there, and I'm probably showing you pictures of the upper deck now. Technically, it's very possible for somebody to do that because all of the stairs from every unit that go up, it's just an entire roof, and so you can go from one unit to the other. There's only like planters and stuff in the way. But the thing is, the planters and stuff are arranged in such a way, it is not easy to go from our section to the next section. And for somebody to just get up and rush away, they would have made a lot of noise because that window right there, it has a bunch of junk in the way, and then once you get out of the way, you'd have to like really run and jump over some stuff, and that's not what I heard at all. It was totally silent. So that was like, well, that's weird. Whoever did it, they must have been really like lofty-footed. And so I'll just make sure that that upper door upstairs is locked, and I did. And that's actually already off-putting when you go upstairs and you're already in a weird place. and this bedroom's already creepy. And then there's a stairway that goes up right next to your bedroom. Like if you walk outside your bedroom, there's a stairway that goes up to like you don't know where unless you go up there a lot. So that was like a weird feeling. So a few nights later, I'm sleeping again. I'm sleeping on the right side. I can look up the skylight, and there's this bank of dressers right here, and I had moved them away for the purpose of the mirrors and stuff. And I'm sleeping, and I hear Jetson in the middle of the night groan as he always does. And I'm sleeping this way, right side of the bed, and this is the empty side where it faces the dressers. I hear Jetson groan. So I open my eyes, and I look over towards the dresser, the corner of the dresser that exposes the wall. I see a little white shape there, which is, Jetson making groaning. And I'm like, it's okay, buddy. It's all right. Go back to sleep. Now, as I do, it's like, and I go, it's okay. Just go back to sleep. Everything's fine. As I do that, I see it kind of like move a little bit and get quiet. And again, I'm partially blind because I see shapes. I see this little white thing kind of settle, and as it settled down, it kind of like went back into the shadow, and I couldn't see Jetson anymore. And I started to fall asleep. Now, as I'm falling asleep, I realize, wait a minute. Jetson is not with us. He is in the States. This is the other side of the world. And I hear a groan very much like Jetson. I'm like, what the hell just happened? So I get up, I look in the corner. There's nothing there. I was expecting, I must have put my white t-shirt or something over there. There's nothing there. So whatever was that white mass that was about the size of what JB is, Jetson, that thing is gone. Like it had, again, have you ever watched My Neighbor Totoro, where like something like edges away? It was almost like that. Like it just like synced away and then poof, it disappeared. And then when I woke up and I looked, I was like, wait a minute. I went over there. I got up and looked in the corner. I'm like, what just happened? Our dog is not here. I don't know what that sounded just like him, like a kind of a weird groany thing. I don't know what that was. And I was like, that's weird. And that's when I started to think there's something else going on here. Now, if you listen to any of my other stories, the one about Chicago, which I'm hoping is here, right here, that you can click on. If you watch that, some ghost stuff happened, some paranormal, some weird stuff happened there too. And I made it a point not to tell my wife, because at that point, she would not be able to handle it. And this is right before the time where she could handle it, so I couldn't tell her about this either, especially since I was gone most of the day in another country. I didn't want her to feel weird being there. And I didn't have anything that made me think, this is a dangerous thing. It was just weird stuff happening. So I didn't tell her about that stuff. I was just like on edge. I was like, okay, there's probably something going on in this apartment in another country, which is already creepy. So let me tell you about the last thing that happened. So again, it happened in the bedroom. These two things had already happened. So I'm like, okay, something's up. And I'm sleeping. And for the most part, I'm trying to feel comfortable, but I just think that's weird. That's a weird thing. And that mirror makes me feel weird. And the fact that we had it faced away always made me think, hey, if I flip that thing over, am I going to see anything? I'm not going to tell you a story about seeing a face, but I just had this weird feeling. Now, that's significant for me to tell you, because when you have feelings like this, I think it actually causes you to be more likely to see things. In neuro-linguistic programming, that's how they get you. Like if you ever watch like magic shows, when they put a thought in your mind, that's how magicians do that. They are doing stuff so that they put a suggestion in your mind and then you call it out, which is how they do things. Like, is this the number that you're thinking of or whatever? They're actually feeding it to you. So in neuro-linguistic programming, the key is to stick you in a mode where you're like open to receiving information, which is very similar to the situation. We already felt weird about the place. In retrospect, when I talked to my wife, she already felt weird about the place. So apparently some stuff had happened to her, but she didn't share with me until after we moved as well. But because you're in this space, I think you're actually more open to things happening, which some skeptics would say, well, you just fabricated this thing. But again, maybe, but I'm just sharing with this story. So the last thing that happened was, again, it's in the bedroom, sleeping. And at this point, I'm already aware of stuff that's going on. So I'm in the middle of the night. I'll check the skylight, open an eye, check that area where I thought JB was, go back to sleep. So one night I woke up. I don't know why I woke up. It happened a lot in this room, probably because I was freaked out. I opened my eyes, I looked at the skylight, I looked at the area, and I just felt weird. And so I sat up in bed. And again, just to remind you of the layout of the room, bed in the middle of the room, doors over there. This side has all the dressers against the wall, which is where I saw that white shape. And there's an entire bank of walls next to the entry over here that are just like sliding closet doors. So I pick myself up and I look, and as I get up and I look across the wall over there, sorry, it's getting kind of thing. As I get up and I look across the wall, the door right in front of me swings open. And I'm like, great. Okay, I know you're here now. So it doesn't swing all the way open. It just opens enough, like, and you know the creakiness of a sliding door. It just creaks open a little bit. And I'm like, fine, let's do this. Might as well. So I get up. I walk up to it. I grab it. And I'm thinking, man, I don't know what I'm going to see here. I'm just going to go ahead and do this. So I pull it open, and there's nothing. It's just an empty space. Almost so stark. Like, there's a white wall. It's, like, so stark that I'm like, what am I looking? I don't see anything. It's almost like I don't see, like a void. It's just white. Like this weird amorphous white. And I'm just like, I'm so glad I didn't see anything. But I feel creepy. I feel like, you know that feeling you get where you're like at a cafe and you look up and like, I feel like someone's watching me. And you look and there, sure enough, there's a guy watching you. I felt like that. Like, ugh, it's too creepy. So I picked up my pants and I just like put it in the space and dropped it and then shut the thing. And I took my shirt and put it in front of it. It's like, and I actually said, all right, I know you're here. That's fine. But don't do that. I don't like that. I don't need this. So I put my shirt there so it wouldn't open that one loose door. And I went to sleep. And then nothing of significance happened after that. It was just like one of those things where you're in a place and two other things happen. And that was like the defining event, which is like whatever that entity was like, hey, I am here. And then me acknowledging, yeah, okay, I acknowledge that you're here, but please don't do that. And I actually said out loud when my wife wasn't there I was there during the day and she was out. And I said, hey, do not do any of this with my wife at all. I'm acknowledging to you that you are here. Okay, so be happy in that. Do not do that for my wife. You can, if something's going on, you come to me. And luckily, it listened. It didn't do anything to my knowledge that was like that to my wife. Although my wife felt weird in the place. I think she attributed that to being in another country and things being different. So that's what happened here at Queens Wharf, in an apartment that we were renting for 6 months, and even though it wasn't malicious or anything, it was weird enough to like, all right, I got it, you're here, just don't do anymore, and please don't show yourself. I cannot handle it. Wouldn't matter anyway, because I think I may have said I'm legally blind. I won't be able to see you, so I know you're here. Everything's cool. And that was my story. So that was this little haunting event that happened in the Queens Wharf of New Zealand. So thanks for listening, and have a good night.